Good evening, everyone. Good evening and welcome, everyone. As Superintendent of Schools of Houston County, it is my privilege to welcome you to this special event. It is a pleasure to be part of our 10th ceremony to induct Houston County's most outstanding educators into the Teacher Hall of Fame. Our Board of Education created this program as a special way to honor teachers who made a significant impact in their schools, their classrooms, and in the lives of the children entrusted to their care. To be inducted into the Hall of Fame is a very high honor. The honorees were selected after reading personal impact statements from each nominee and letters of recommendations from their former students, parents, colleagues, and administrators. Tonight's inductees upheld exemplary standards, exhibited leadership, and were enthusiastic about teaching and learning. They worked well with their colleagues and administrators and consistently sought to encourage, inspire, and motivate students toward greater accomplishments. We look forward to sharing more about each individual during tonight's program. But before we begin, I'd like for the students from Warner Robins High School who will perform our national anthem and our pledge to come forward, and if you would, please stand. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, you may be seated. Thank you so much to Dr. Weber and her students for performing for us tonight. Let's give them one more round of applause before they leave. I have a few special guests that I'd like to recognize, and to start with our Board of Education, the best board anywhere, Mr. Fred Wilson, our chairman and board member for 28 years, who will be going off our board, so thank you to Mr. Wilson. And then we also have board member Mr. Dave Crockett. And we have board member Dr. Rick Unruh. And we have former Superintendent Dr. Robin Hines here. So, Dr. Hines, thank you for being here. You will see a list of our Hall of Fame members in the back of your program, and if you've previously been inducted into our Hall of Fame, would you please stand if you're in the audience and you've been inducted into the Hall of Fame? We'd also like to recognize any current or former administrators or principals. If you're in the audience, would you stand and let us recognize you? Former principals or administrators. Wow, thank you. And we're all about teaching. We have those that teach and those who support teachers. So if you are a current or former teacher and you're in the audience tonight, please stand and let us recognize you. Wow. Would all the family members of our 2022 Hall of Fame honorees please stand? So if you're a family member of one of our 5 honorees. Finally, I would like to thank our Teacher Hall of Fame Selection Committee. Serving on that committee is Mr. Dave Crockett, board member and retired educator. Dave, if you would just stand up there. Miss Linda Horn, retired educator. I know I saw Linda. There's Linda. Also, Dr. Deepa Ora, Associate Provost for Middle Georgia State University. Thank you for being here. Then also Dr. Vicki Luther, Director of the PhD Program in Curriculum and Instruction at the Tift College of Education at Mercer University. Go Bears. And then Miss Jennifer Jones, Director of Community and School Affairs for the Houston County School District. So thank you for your service. And now I'd like to invite Mr. Dave Crockett to come forward to deliver tonight's special remarks. Dave has faithfully served the Houston County Board of Education after a long-time career as a teacher, coach, and administrator in our school district. And I believe Dave started in 1969, I believe is what he told me. And you're in for a treat always when Dave speaks. Looking forward to hearing what he's got to say. So Dave Crockett.
Thank you, Dr. Scott. It's truly an honor to be part of this Hall of Fame induction ceremony. I know I speak for Chairman Fred Wilson and other board members and the selection committee when I say that we all congratulate you and thank you and appreciate you for what you chose to do each day for so many years. Thank you for choosing to be a teacher, choosing to take a hand, open a mind, touch a heart, and shape so many futures. Thank you, Jane Adams, Jane Bellflower, Mary Gentry, Debbie Meck, and Patricia Ogletree. Know that your hard work, dedication, compassion, and caring will not be forgotten. Thank each of you for being a multitasking educational rock star who live to inspire and love to encourage. Y'all are kind of a big deal. Let's do a rewind and go back to the classrooms that we spent time in as a student. It probably won't take long before memories of our best and worst teachers come to mind. These memories can either make us wince or smile. Who did you learn the most from? Who did you least respect? Who cared about you? Whose class did you dread going to every day? How we answer these questions provide a glimpse into the characteristics of an excellent teacher versus those who are uninspiring and certainly ineffective. Whether they had a profound positive or negative impact on us, or no impact at all, says volumes about their value as a teacher. Good teachers, Hall of Fame teachers like the ones we're honoring today, inspire students to want to learn and do their absolute best. Hall of Fame teachers are found to be prepared, challenging, creative, respectful, approachable, good-humored, positive, and good communicators. What matters most when a teacher is nominated for the Houston County Teacher Hall of Fame? Everyone has been professionally trained. Most have advanced degrees. All are retirees, which means they spent many years in the classroom. Each nominee provides letters of recommendation. Colleagues and former principals have many great things to say about them. But what really identifies a real Hall of Fame teacher is what former students say about them. When you read those, you get a lump in your throat and tears fill your eyes. Hall of Fame teachers impact lives, shape futures, and are never forgotten. I will close with a tribute to a teacher's life. What Will Matter? It was written by Michael Josephson. He said, ready or not, someday it will come to an end. All the things you collected, whether treasured or forgotten, will pass to someone else. It will not matter what you owed or what you were owed. Your grudges, resentments, frustrations, and jealousies will finally disappear. So too your hopes, ambitions, plans, and to-do lists will expire. The lesson plans, staff meetings, parent conferences, and schoolhouse politics that once seemed so important will fade away. The annual parade of fresh faces will end, and the noise of chattering children, shuffling feet, and slamming lockers will be no longer heard. It won't matter how much you earned, the sort of house you lived in, or the kind of car you drove, but the world will be different because you were important in the life of a child. So what will matter? How will the value of your life be measured? What will matter is not your success, but your significance. What will matter is not your competence, but your character. What will matter is every act of dedication, passion, and example that enriched, empowered, and enlarged young minds. What will matter is not how many you taught, but how many lives you touched. What will matter is not your memories, but the memories of those who loved you and depended on you. And what will matter is how long you will be remembered by whom and for what. Living a life that matters doesn't happen by accident. It is not a matter of circumstance, but of choice. Choosing to teach is choosing to live a life that matters. So thank each of you for making that choice. We are proud of and proud for you. Congratulations.
Great job, Mr. Crockett. Thank you for that. Okay. It's an honor to introduce each of our new Teacher Hall of Fame inductees as we celebrate 5 extraordinary educators. We haven't had a Hall of Fame induction since 2019, so to say that we're looking forward to this day for a long time is an understatement. These Hall of Fame honorees have an amazing history, rich in accomplishments, and countless lives that they've positively influenced. All totaled, these 5 teachers devoted 163 years in the classroom combined. And at this time, I would ask Jennifer Jones to come forward and introduce each of our guests of honor.
And I'm going to try to get through these without crying because these are quite touching bios that I have to read for you tonight. So first we have Miss Jane Addams. Miss Jane Addams began her teaching career at Northside High School in 1980, where she taught math and retired from the Houston County School District in 2008 after teaching for 28 years. During her tenure at Northside, she took on many roles. She served on the project success team, identifying students' strengths and weaknesses to best meet educational needs of at-risk students. She also served as an advisor to numerous clubs and managed a peer tutoring program. Ms. Addams also received the Walmart Teacher of the Year Award and the Radio Shack Tandy Scholarship for Academic Excellence. In her nomination packet, Ms. Adams said, "An effective teacher is one who is successful in helping students learn the material being presented. In order to do that, students need to know that the teacher has respect for them and is willing to adjust teaching methods to meet the individual needs of all students. I believe a good teacher is one who is flexible, enthusiastic, energetic, and willing to adapt to each child's learning and style and ability." Colonel George Nichols said, "Jane Addams is held in such high regard by numerous alumni because of her kindness and genuine love for all students. She was an outstanding math teacher who led us through the journey with deep enthusiasm to apply math to everyday life. She understood that each person learned differently, and she knew how to draw out the best in each of us. She also dedicated countless hours to support students outside of the classroom through clubs, sports teams, and other extracurricular activities. Ms. Addams was devoted to developing students academically and personally so they could be successful in life beyond Northside High. Congratulations to tonight's first inductee, Ms. Jane Addams."
Thank you, Dr. Hines, for being here. You're a very special person to me. Dr. Scott, thank you. Ms. Jones, thank you. I'm so very grateful to have been selected to the Houston County Teacher Hall of Fame. Congratulations to the other 4 inductees. I would like to thank Ms. Janan McSwain for nominating me, and Dr. Robin Hines, Ms. Sonia Peterman, Colonel George Nichols, Mr. Ed Dyson, and fellow inductee Tricia Ogletree for their letters of recommendation. Thank you to my friends and family for being here to share this occasion with me. It is such an honor to be recognized by the Houston County Hall of Fame Committee. I graduated from college in the spring of 1980 and was hired by Mr. Matt Arthur as a Northside High School math teacher. He was my first principal, but Mr. Dyson was my principal and mentor for the majority of my teaching career. Mr. Dyson knew the names of every student at Northside. That was a gift I never received because I struggled then and am still struggling with the names of people. My son always tells me, "Please don't call anyone by name because it will probably be the wrong one." While I often call my students by the wrong names, I knew their mathematical strengths and weaknesses and strive to help them to build on those strengths and overcome their weaknesses. I knew which students needed more than what was offered in a classroom lesson. Some needed food and clothes and someone to just be there for them. Some of their families were struggling financially, so I did whatever I could to help them and their families. Thank goodness I worked in a school that supported all students. So when I asked for extra help, either emotionally or financially, I could depend on the Northside family to do their part. Teaching has always been an evolving profession. I welcomed change and was usually one of the first to volunteer to learn new teaching strategies and implement them in my classes. Houston County has always given teachers the opportunities and tools needed to help them become better educators. Some of you might not know that before Mr. Dyson was the principal at Northside, he was a math teacher. One day he came to me and said, "Jane, I want to teach a class with you." This was not a question. So, "Okay, Mr. Dyson," was the only response I could give. This collaboration was a win-win for me and for the students in the class. He shared his knowledge with the students, and I learned some valuable insight into the art of teaching to students of all ability levels. He and I were very high energy type teachers, so we worked quite well together. That was an experience I will always treasure. Mr. Dyson was and continues to be a leader in our community. I will always be grateful for his leadership, guidance, and friendship. I was privileged to have Dr. Hines as one of my principals at Northside. He helped me to realize the importance of using test data to measure student knowledge. That data was used to improve my classroom instruction. I had the pleasure of being the teacher of thousands of students. Several of those students became attorneys, doctors, engineers, educators, politicians, and professional athletes. Some students became outstanding members of our military, auto mechanics, construction workers, store managers, and some are even members of our Board of Education. I am equally proud of each student who became successful doing what they enjoyed doing. But I am most proud of the ones who were so full of self-doubt that they did not believe passing math was even possible, much less graduating from high school. Sometimes those students just needed someone to believe in them and to give them that extra push towards positive end results. I was truly blessed to be in their corner. Teaching is a rewarding occupation. Yes, it is challenging, but so very worth all of the extra time spent preparing lessons and grading papers. I loved my students and knew they were worth anything I had to do to help them to learn, not only the subject matter, but also how to be a better person. To anyone in the teaching profession, I encourage you to strive to be the best you can be for your students. Trust me when I say that any extra effort given to them is well worth it. Support them in the classroom and their extracurricular activities. You want your students to be successful, but more importantly, they need to know that you will do all you can do to help them to reach their goals. Thank you again for allowing me to become a part of this very distinguished group of Houston County educators.
Our next inductee is Jane Bellflower. Miss Jane Bellflower began her teaching career at Danville Elementary in Twiggs County. In 1983, she transferred to Houston County and taught at Miller Elementary, Kings Chapel Elementary, Mount Arthur Elementary, and Shirley Hills Elementary. Ms. Bellflower retired from Houston County School District in June 2014 after 31 years in the classroom. During her tenure, she received several awards, including Make a Difference Day National Award from Oprah Winfrey, My Teacher is Tops, and the Literacy Month recognition from Governor Brian Kemp. She also was named Teacher of the Year on 2 separate occasions. In her nomination packet, Ms. Bellflower said, "The more I taught, the more I grew as an educator. My relationships with my students were and continue to be built on trust. I rejoice with students through their life's journey and their successes. From biochemists to pharmacists to GBI investigators, I am confident that every extra effort that I made to reflect, regroup, and redefine the lessons I taught was well worth the effort." Luke Foster said, "What I remember most about Jane Bellflower's class was the quality of her lessons and the compassion she had for her students. She ensured that everyone was able to learn by not only providing a rich, intellectually stimulating environment, but also by connecting directly with us every day. Whether it was by reading aloud from her collection of books, giving us advice and resources for writing, or taking us outside to do a new science experiment, she never missed an opportunity to guide learning. She pushed us to broaden our horizons and nurture our passions. She was always confident in our ability to succeed." Join me as we congratulate our next inductee, Miss Jane Bellflower.
Debbie and I were talking ahead of time, and we were really nervous about this. Give us a room of 5-year-olds and we're good. But this is a little bit nerve-wracking for me. So I am extremely grateful and honored for this time. And I kept remembering the words of Miss Myra Jean Ford. If anybody has been around Houston County long enough, they remember Miss Myra Jean. And she said to me one time that you have given me flowers before my funeral. And that's kind of how I feel today. You've honored me, and I just am extremely humbled. I have a list of thank yous. Don't panic. I know you said 2 minutes, okay? And seriously, I'm not going to go through all of these, but I have decided on the way down here, I thought, I'm going to personally write all of these people. It may take me a couple years, but I'm going to tell them what an impact they had on my life and my career. And they made it possible for me to give as much as I gave all these years. I am going to thank a few. Dr. Vere Harold and Monica Atchison, I wanted to thank you for not only being friends, but for having the confidence to nominate me for such an honor. Joy Bassett and Vicki Lacey and Luke Foster and Dr. Cynthia Hammond wrote letters of support, and they make me cry and still make me cry still, and I'll take those with me when I head to the old folks home one day and just keep them forever. They're like a little hunk of gold, just priceless. My family and friends, I still work at Middle Georgia RESA, so I'm still in classrooms working with teachers and students every day. And one thing we say at Middle Georgia RESA, we say we're rising every day to serve all. And I view this as a place of service. I treasure every year in Houston County, and if I can be of service to you in the future, I'm a cheap date. I have some great ideas. I love teachers and students. So I just hope that this will be a great opportunity for me to give back to all of the people that have served. And I stand on a lot of shoulders in Houston County. If you go out and look at the wall of the Hall of Fame, I know so many of them, so many I don't know, but I do stand on a lot of shoulders. So I thank all of those people that helped make me the person I am and continue to grow today. So even my grandchildren, who are my guinea pigs, and if I have a new idea, I call them up, and sometimes they're not as willing, but I make them try. So I just wanted to thank the students too that I have, and I don't have any here. I have some representatives of some, but my students always gave me just an incredible amount of joy and filled me up. And I wanted to thank, I wish I could name all of them, but that would even be a longer list. So, but I do thank them. And I appreciate Houston County for giving me all of these opportunities that I've had in my career. So thank you.
Next, we have Miss Mary Gentry. She began her career at Northside Middle School in 1981, where she taught math. In 1987, she moved to Perry High School, where she taught math and chorus. Miss Gentry retired from the Houston County School District in June 2018 after teaching for 37 years. During her tenure, she taught every math class from the lower level 7th grade to AP Calculus. She also piloted the applied math courses taught during the 1990s. As a result, she became a facilitator for the applied math training courses offered around the state. Since retiring from Houston County, she began teaching math, still, with the Westfield School in Perry. In her nomination packet, Ms. Gentry said, "I found that the best way to get my students to work was to let them know I genuinely cared about them as individuals. When I showed interest in what they were doing or in what was happening in their lives, for the most part, they responded positively. I not only offered extra help with academic work, but I would also strive to help students with their problems outside of the classroom." Tiffany Frank said, To watch Mary Gentry in the classroom is to witness something that can almost be defined as sacred. When the cap comes off the marker, she tells a story with numbers that no one can quite repeat the same way. She has been a pillar in the halls of Perry High, teaching the beginning learners the foundation of algebra to coaching the top of the class through calculus. Students who sat in her classroom and now sit elsewhere all still sing her praises. She is a legend that other educators aspire to be. She groomed many teachers during her 37 years and supplied each of us with opportunities to gain experience and leadership. When I survey any success of my career, it is directly tied to her name. Congratulations to our next inductee, Miss Mary Gentry.
I have been humbled many times in my life. Today is one of the good kinds of being humbled. I'm honored and humbled that you thought my career merited such recognition. I am humbled to be included in such a phenomenal group of educators as those on the wall and those here today. God has blessed me beyond anything I ever dreamed. He has been faithful, merciful, loving, and with me every day of every year. He has helped me run the race with endurance. I know, because some days that's all I could do was endure. I did not make 42 years in this profession without a lot of support and encouragement. Ann McCall and Homer Hobbs started me off in the right direction. The guidance I received from Mr. Hobbs, Jim Snyder, and Billy Pritchard at Northside Junior High is still priceless. After 6 years, I moved to Perry High School, where Phil Smith conned me into teaching chorus 1 period a day for 12 years. Being literary coordinator for 25 years, playing piano for plays and musicals while teaching math was challenging, but it was fun. I would like to thank Phil Smith, Dave Crockett, Bobby Griffin, Darrell Albritton, Lionel Brown, and Dale Martin for all of your support during my 31 years at Perry High School. I have been allowed to continue to teach high school math at the Westfield School. Thank you to William Carroll and Jared Lewis for all of your help and backing. Would you gentlemen please stand so I can salute you, please? Anyone who has ever taught knows you do not stop being a teacher when the dismissal bell rings. My family has enjoyed and endured my stories, trials, failures, and triumphs. I have been married to my biggest fan and cheerleader for almost 32 years. He has not only been a sounding board and source of strength, he has loved me, stood by me, held me, made me try new technologies, encouraged me, advised me, and told me the truth even when I did not enjoy hearing it. Dr. Gregory Gentry, I love you and I thank you. Getting to teach our 2 sons, 2 nephews, and future daughter-in-law is precious to me. Neither son asked me a question out of the 3 years I taught them until the last day I had the youngest one. I could not even answer him. I was crying so hard. Would Greg, Kurt, Lindsay, Trey, and Evelyn stand? Would my extended family please stand? Thank you. I have had the pleasure of teaching alongside some of the best teachers in Houston County. Watching former students become teachers, especially math teachers, has been awesome. Being able to teach alongside them is a whole different kind of special, especially if one is your favorite daughter-in-law. I do have to give a special thanks to my friend and personal counselor, Hazel Jackson. Hazel talked me down off many a cliff. She is my Paul and my Barnabas. She often tamed my spiritual gift of sarcasm and kept me out of trouble. Would Hazel and my other teaching colleagues please stand? I feel absolutely certain that when Lionel Brown, Eric Payne, Chris Brown, and Carmen Horton were in my math class, they never dreamed we would be at this place together today for this occasion. Watching my children grow up and thrive has been one of the rewards of teaching that I continue to enjoy the most. I have played piano at many of their weddings, attended quite a few wedding and baby showers, cried with them over lost loved ones and other losses, and rejoiced in their successes. Teaching the math was supposed to be primary, but taking care of my students and helping them grow often had to take priority. I am not perfect, but I pray I showed them Jesus in all that I did. Thank you to the people who nominated me for this honor. Thank you to the selection committee for choosing me. Thank you for allowing me to share it with two of my math colleagues. Thank you to the Board of Education for making this event happen. You have topped off my career. Thank you.
Miss Debbie Meck began her teaching career at Centerville Elementary School in 1980, where she taught multiple grade levels during her 31 years as a Mustang. She retired from the Houston County School District in June 2011. During her tenure, she served on the School-Based Staff Development Committee, implementing programs on writing, cooperative learning, storytelling, whole language, assertive discipline, and motivational techniques for at-risk students. She also served as a peer teacher for several first-year teachers and was selected to participate in the first Teacher Support Specialist program, serving as a mentor for student teachers. She was named a Georgia Teacher of the Year finalist in 1993. In her nomination packet, Ms. Meck said, "As a teacher, I had always believed that it was my responsibility to let children learn by stimulating their innate desire for knowledge. I had to do this through every means possible. It was as if each child's learning style was like a fingerprint, very unique, very precise. My students learned through their eyes, hands, ears, mouth, and minds. In my classroom, I made them believe they could do anything they set their minds on." Tanya Maddox said, "Debbie Meck knew how to create an atmosphere in which students and teachers felt that together we could accomplish great things. I remember watching her magically connect with students that many could not reach. She knew that the secret to helping students grow was to provide opportunities for them to fall in love with learning. She also served as a role model for all teachers and believed everyone played a valuable role. She wanted each of her coworkers to be successful and make school engaging because she knew it would benefit students. Ms. Meck was and continues to be an inspiration to many educators. Congratulations to our next inductee, Miss Debbie Mack.
I'll be honest with you, I didn't even know that there was a Teacher Hall of Fame until about 10 years ago. I came because my daughter-in-law's parents had told me that we could pick up free passes when we got old and we can get into some sports events for free. So I came down to pick up a pass for my husband and I saw those marvelous pictures on the wall, and I thought, my goodness, I knew some of them, and most I did not know. And never in my wildest dreams did I think that someday I might be on that wall myself. I was a stay-at-home mom, and I took care of my 2 little boys, but I also took in other children. I was a daycare worker, basically, and I loved every minute of it. I piled them up in the car without any seat belts, and I would take them down to the library, and we would stack up with a bunch of books, and I would read to these children all day long. We made finger paint, we did Play-Doh, and I sang songs, and I wrote stories with them, and I had a blast. And then one day, the mail came, and I got a letter, and it was from the VA, and my biological dad had passed away, and I got his VA benefits, and I could go to college. And when my husband, Don, came home from work, I gave him that letter, and he said, Debbie, this is fabulous. You can go to college now, free. And I said, you know, I don't even have a passion for anything. I don't even know what I would study. I mean, why me go to college? And he said, Deb, you love children. He said, be a teacher. So a few years passed, I got my degree. I was almost 30 years old, had another little boy, and in 1980, don't add up. I know math teachers are probably adding up how old I am. But Mr. Bassett hired me. I actually had 2 interviews that day, and one of them had air conditioning, and one of them did not. And I chose Mr. Bassett with air conditioning. So I just really wanted to give you a little snippet of what it was like being an elementary school teacher for 31 years. My first year, I had a little girl in my classroom who got dumped off early in the morning, way before anybody else arrived. And I could see her out my window, and I hated that she sat out there by herself. So I told her to come in every single day and sit with me, and I would read to her. It was great tutoring time for us. And one day while we were sitting, and I had my arm around her, and she had her little head with her big bushy hairdo, and she's reading her little story, and she said, Miss Mack, she said, I have a secret. Will you keep it? And I said, of course I will. I knew she loved Adam. She wrote it all the time. And I thought she was finally going to tell me. But she reached up, and she pulled my hair around my ear, and she whispered, I have lice. And I jumped up, and when I jumped up, she fell down, and she started crying. And I said, oh, honey, I said, we got to take you to the office. I said, we got to call your mommy. You've got to go home. And she said, but that was the secret. My mama said I could not tell you. One time when I was teaching community helpers, I had invited all my parents to come into the classroom and talk about their jobs. Even had a mother who showed up in an apron, and she had pot holders on. And she talked about being a stay-at-home mom, and that touched my heart. And I had a lot of community volunteers coming in and also talking about their profession. And at the end of 2 weeks, and we were reflecting on all the different occupations and jobs that we had learned, this one little girl interrupted me, and she said, Mrs. Mack, do you have a job? Do you work? And I said, well, yes, Winnie, I work here. And she went, get out of here. She thought I came every day just to have fun, and I did. Another time, a little boy came into my classroom and he was holding his belly ever so tightly, and he looked like he was on the verge of getting sick, but he sat down and we started our lessons, and pretty soon, I just saw him bend over, and he said, "I gotta go," and I said, "Hurry, go, but don't run, but hurry, go." And he did, and he was gone for a very, very long time. And he finally came back to the room, and when he came back into my room, he was holding a pair of underwear that had been completely soiled. And I said, "Sweetie, where did you find those?" And he said, "My butt." So I opened up a Ziploc bag and had him plop it in there and sealed it shut and went and called his mother. But he said, "My mom knows I'm sick. She told me to stick it out." I said, "Off you go." When I got moved up to the 3rd grade, Mr. Bassett came down to my classroom, and he said, "Debbie, I got to tell you," and he was real fast saying it. He goes, "You're going to get a new little boy tomorrow morning. He's from Vietnam. He doesn't speak any English, and I know he'll be great. He's an older student, but I think he'll do good in your classroom because you guys talk all the time. You'll have fun. He'll learn. Bye." And he left. And then Mrs. Sutherland, our secretary, she came down with the paperwork, and it was all in Vietnamese. We couldn't understand a word on it. We saw the number 12, and I went, "Oh, good Lord, he's 12. And then we decided, and we deciphered what his name was, which was Heto. And I thought I had said it right. So the next morning when he came to school, I put my arm around him. I greeted every student at the door every morning. "Good morning, we're going to have a great day." And I said, "Good morning, Heto." I said, "It's going to be a great day." And he just kind of looked at me. And I knew he probably didn't know what I was saying, and he was nervous, and I introduced him to the class, and everybody just welcomed him. That class was fabulous. "Heto, come over here. I'll show you how to do math. Heto, come eat lunch with me. Heto, come on, let's go outside and play." And about 6 to 8 weeks into my teaching him, I went to the Galleria Mall, and I saw his parents and other family members. And I wanted to go over and tell them how much I loved teaching his little boy. He was picking up a lot of words because we talk a lot in our class. And when I went over, he had one cousin there, and she could speak a little bit of English. And I said, "Please tell his parents how much I love him and what a sweet little boy he is." And I said, "Heto is just a dream." And she said, "I will tell them, but why do you call him that?" And I said, "Well, that's his name." And she said, "No, that's the name of his elementary school." So much for Vietnamese. But there is one little boy that really sticks out a lot in my mind. You see, when I got hired in 1st grade, I did not start the year off. I was one of those overage teachers. They had too many kids in a classroom, and Mr. Bassett hired me. And at the end of 1st grade, well, I just had this little boy, and he was just a handful. I had never once been around an undisciplined child. My children were wonderful, the little kids, and they were really, really sweet, adorable children. And the kids that I took care of were. This little boy shocked me. Unruly, broke people's crayons, threw pencils. He was, I hate to say this, but he was horrible. And I tried everything I could. Being a new teacher, I really didn't know how to handle that kind of a child. But I endured that year. But then Mr. Bassett came to me at the end of that 1st grade, and he said, "Debbie, there's too many 1st graders moving up to 2nd grade, so you're going to have to loop with this class and go to 2nd grade. And we'll let the kids who are in your classroom loop with you if their parents want to." And the next year, I looked at my roster, and I had a lot of the same kiddos that I had had before. And sure enough, I had little Johnny. And I just went, "This is the year. I'm going to be in control, and I know that I can turn that child around." That 2nd year, he was just as bad, if not worse. He stole from everybody. He was angry. Every morning when I hugged him, he shrugged his shoulders, and he'd do that to me. And every evening at the end of school, I'd put my arm around him and I'd say, "Bye, Johnny, I'll see you tomorrow." He'd do that again to me. And that's how the year ended. I asked my peers what to do. I read every book on the undisciplined child. I put stickers. I did every little graph that I could think of, markers on his desk, everything. Nothing changed. And then Mr. Bassett came down at the end of that second grade, and he said to me, Debbie, we have so many second graders moving up to third grade that I think you need to move to third grade with them, but you get to keep the same kids that you had if the parents still want you. And I said, all right, I'll move up. I had no other choice. And I was so afraid to look at that roster that year when he handed them all out, and sure enough, Johnny was in my class again. And I thought, this is the year. I know I'm going to get a grip on him. But by now, he had a vocabulary that was unbelievable. The cussing, mostly geared at me. He would kick the filing cabinet. He would kick other kids. He would steal. He broke little items that children brought in for me. And every day when he would walk in, I'd give him a hug, and he would do that again the whole year. I never once changed that little boy. And he moved that year, and I never saw him again for 20 years or more. And his mother called me, and she said he's in prison. And he's been there for 2 years, and he doesn't see anybody, and he won't take visitors, but he wants to see you. And I thought, oh my God, what does he want to... And she said, would you agree to see him? And I said I would, and I had to fill out a background check, which I thought was hilarious because I was going to see a prisoner, but they wanted to do a background check on me. But I filled out those paperworks, and I went to see him, and I was so nervous. My hands were shaking, my stomach was in a knot, and they had us sit by, they were like little cubicles, so we couldn't see who the other visitors were with their inmates that they were going to be visiting. And there was a plexiglass, and there was this mustard-colored telephone that I was going to have to pick up to talk with him, and we didn't even have hand sanitizers back in those days. And I sat there, and he came walking down the hall, and I remembered him as a short, chubby, face sprinkled full of freckles and sandy blonde hair. And here he was, this man, tall and thin with darkened hair and not one freckle on his face. And he sat down, and I picked up my mustard-colored telephone, and he picked up his. And I said, oh, Johnny, I said, I don't even recognize you. You've changed so much. And he went real close to that plexiglass, and he went closer, and he said, I don't even recognize you. You got old. And I said, I guess I did. And I laughed, and it just made all those nerves go away. And for the next 20 minutes that it was allotted to us, we talked about first grade and second grade and third grade, and he remembered those children in the classroom. But he had been with them for 3 years, and remembered the silly songs that we sang. He couldn't sing them, but he remembered how goofy he thought I was. He remembered particularly a book that I read, and he remembered this, The Boxcar Children, and he said it was his favorite book forever. He loved writing cursive handwriting. He was a fabulous artist, and he used to love to write his name under the pictures that he drew. But he also said one thing to me, and he said, I remember how you hugged me every morning, and how you hugged me every day when I left. And when I sat in that car to drive home, I started to cry, and I cried, and I cried, and then all of a sudden I just started smiling, and I thought maybe I did touch him. Maybe I did leave an impact in his life. And I just know that being a teacher, it's not so much about the book work and the lesson plans and all the skills that we have to teach the child. It means so much for a child to feel valued and safe and unconditionally loved, and they feel worthy. And I hope that's what he felt in those 4 walls. I knew I couldn't change the dynamics of his house, but I wanted so bad to give him something else. I want to thank Meredith Rhodes for nominating me for this honor. Meredith, thank you so much. And I want to thank the 5 people who wrote on my behalf, the parents, the students, 2 peer teachers who became my principals after Mr. Bassett retired. I told my husband that if I didn't win, it didn't matter because I had those letters, and I will cherish them forever. They have touched my heart. It's so nice to see colleagues here that I haven't seen in such a long time. I was going to call them old, but I'm much older, so I'll just say that. It's so wonderful to have my sons here with their wives and one soon-to-be daughter-in-law. I love having my 5 grandchildren here. One of them I taught twice, once in 1st grade and once in 5th grade. I am so thankful for the committee and for looking at those pictures out there and being added to that wall. But I really want to thank my husband, Don, because when I came home with that letter and I said, what can I do? I have no passion. And he said, Deb, you love kids, be a teacher. And I got to for 31 wonderful years. Thank you.
Finally, we have Miss Patricia Ogletree. She began her teaching career at Northside High School in 1984, where she taught all grade levels throughout her 38 years as an Eagle. She retired from the Houston County School District in 2019 and continued to teach part-time until 2022. During her time in the district, she received several honors, including Star Teacher multiple times, Northside High School Teacher of the Year, and Tandy Technology Scholar. She also received the National Hewlett-Packard Graphic Calculator Grant. At Northside, she was the math club sponsor for many years and partnered with Parkwood Elementary School to mentor at-risk students through an after-school program. In her nomination packet, Ms. Ogletree said, "My goal is to prepare students for whatever comes next in their life, whether it be the next high school math class, post-secondary course, or the workforce." I had a poster in my classroom that uses the acronym for math. Mistakes allow thinking to happen. I have found that many students do not want to try for fear of failure. I told them that mistakes are perfectly fine. They saw me make mistakes daily, and the objective is to learn from their mistakes. When a student told me that they can't do something, I responded with, "You can't do it yet." Anthony Heilig said, "Patricia Ogletree possesses something unique that elite educators must have, the special balance of subject mastery with an uncanny ability to care for and connect with students from all backgrounds. She gave the same time, attention, and patience to all students, from those needing help with the most basic concepts of addition and subtraction to the most complicated calculus concepts that are the foundation of technology which permeates our lives today. I knew I wanted to become an engineer in high school, but little did I know that what I learned over 20 years ago in her classroom would still be serving me today. I am forever indebted for her care and instruction. Please help me congratulate tonight's final inductee, Miss Patricia Ogletree.
Good evening. I'm used to teaching high school students, so I'm a little out of my comfort zone, so please bear with me. I would like to congratulate all of my fellow inductees, wonderful people, and they're really a hard act to follow. I cannot begin to tell you how honored and humbled I am to be here today. I usually sit where you're sitting. I never once dreamed that I would be up here receiving an award. So thank you to my family, my friends, and some of my students that I saw today that came to support me. Without the support of these people, I could not have made it through my first year of teaching, which was 38 years ago. When I got my first paycheck, and this is showing how old I am, I went to the payphone during break, which there are no more payphones or break, and I called my husband. And I had to borrow a quarter from a kid, and I called my husband and said, "I don't know what we're going to do, but I will fulfill this contract, but I am not coming back." And again, that was 38 years ago, and luckily my support system helped me through that. I would like to thank Nathan Royal, who was a former student that nominated me for this honor, and he has no idea what this means to me. I would like to give a huge thank you to everybody who wrote a letter of recommendation for me. A lot of them are still working, and I contacted them right before fall break, which if you're a teacher, you know that's when you're winding down and getting into vacation mode. So they deserve a special thank you. Each of them were picked for a special reason, but each of them did impact my teaching career and my life, so I would like to honor them individually. Jennifer Dollar, and I know she's here, she was in one of my very first geometry classes, and I had the pleasure of not only teaching her, but of working with her when she came to Northside, and I taught her daughter, who I fondly refer to as my grand student. Jennifer gives her heart to the people she loves, and she loves her people fiercely. If you were ever to be at Northside High School during Teacher Appreciation Week, it's wow. What she taught me is how important it is to make someone feel special. So thank you, Jennifer. Anthony Heilich, which I was very pleased with his letter. I'm so glad that y'all got to hear from him. He was recently inducted into the Northside High School Hall of Fame. He is one of the lead engineers for Meta, which is Facebook, in their artificial intelligence division. I guess he never watched Terminator as a kid, but anyway, it kind of scares me. So needless to say, he is brilliant. He could have done all of this without me. But what Anthony did was he didn't want to know just how to do it. He wanted to know why things would work. And his questions were so phenomenal. Some days I would have to say, I don't know, Anthony, but I will look it up. So I would like to thank Anthony. Thank you for making me be a better teacher. Your inquisitive nature made me dig deeper and deeper into the subject that I love. Scott Wynn. Scott was a wonderful colleague in the math department who went on to become my evaluator in math, and then he went on to become principal at Thompson Middle School. Scott was also the boys' basketball coach at Northside High School, and he too taught me many things. Scott's players loved him and respected him because of how he made them feel and because of how he pushed them to reach their fullest potential. He taught me how to support my students with strength and love, and how to push them beyond their comfort zone in order to reach their full potential. He also taught me that love and respect go a long way, so thank you, Scott. Judy Moore. I can't thank you enough, Judy. She was another wonderful colleague who went on to become my assistant principal in charge of instruction. She is undoubtedly the most creative person I have ever met in my entire life, and it has been a long one. And I wish I could say that she taught me to be creative, but no. She taught all levels of math from the lowest of the low, which she would ask for, up through pre-calculus. Her lessons in all of her classes were engaging, they were creative, they were fun. She was not proprietary over what she did. She would share her lessons because what she wanted was the best education for all of the students at Northside High School, just not hers. She taught me how to reach students of all academic levels and how to look deeper and determine their interests and innate strengths. She would talk to a kid and know what they needed, if they were a kinesthetic learner, if they learned orally, what their interests were, and she pulled it all into the classroom, and that is a hard thing to do. So thank you, Judy. Dr. Jody Deem is one of the finest administrators I have ever had the pleasure of working with. He was always supportive, and he always made sure his faculty felt appreciated. He would handwrite a birthday card for every single faculty member and staff member, find out what their favorite snack was, and he would hand deliver it, and we would start our morning with a happy birthday and with a snack. He inspired loyalty from the teachers, and the teachers wanted to make him proud because of that. He's the epitome of the Northside motto, which, if you don't know, is tradition, family, and excellence. Dr. Dean taught me that the little things that people say and do make a huge difference in their day and in their lives. He epitomized the thought that students may not remember what you said, but they will never forget how you made them feel. He always looked for a bright spot in everybody's day. So thank you, Dr. Dean. And again, I did not give them a lot of notice, so thank you once again for doing it on a short schedule. I would also like to thank the selection committee, because really without you guys, I would not be here. Houston County has excellent teachers and they have excellent retirees, so the fact that you picked me is very, very humbling. So thank you. Many people have helped me become the teacher that I am, so I could not leave the stage without saying something about Mr. Ed Dyson. He hired me in 1984, and it was the best decision of my life. I don't know about his. I'm sure there were moments when he thought, what is she thinking? But he never said it, and he was always very supportive. If you know him, you know that his motto is, parents are sending us the best that they have. They aren't keeping the good ones at home. His philosophy was to build relationships with students, and that was the best piece of advice that I have been given in education. He set the standard on what a principal should be. He would know every student by name. He would know their siblings, their parents, their grandparents, what church they went to, what their grades were in school, and anything that was going on in their life. He was phenomenal. I don't know how he did it. He was committed to Northside excellence, and every principal that followed him continued that commitment. And it was a hard shoes to fill, but we have had excellent administrators and still do at Northside High School. Some of them are sitting right next to me. The philosophy at Northside has always been they don't care about how much you know until they know about how much you care. And that has always been the philosophy at Northside. If you know, you know, and Northside High School is family. They bind together with their kids. If somebody's in need, they will find out immediately and help them. I know teachers have paid for multiple SAT tests, AP exams. They bought groceries. They've gone to funerals. They've helped finance funerals. Northside is just, if you don't know, the best kept secret in town. Well, it's not a secret anymore because I'm telling you. Okay, I'm almost finished. Linda Harris, I know and love. She was my student teaching supervisor. And Linda's not here, but I do want her to know the 1980s Patricia Ogletree and the 2019 Patricia Ogletree were two totally different things, so I did get much better. Carol Hale was the stability in my life my first year teaching, and she was one of the ones who kept me off the ledge. She taught me to learn from my mistakes, that they're going to happen, and then to keep on going. Jane Addams, who's sitting on this stage, was my #1 encourager. She listened when I was frustrated. She celebrated major life events with me, and she taught me never, ever give up. If I wanted an opinion, Jane always gave me what I needed, not what I wanted, and that I appreciate. The Northside family, thank you very much for taking care of me for 38 years and for helping me to become the teacher that I am today. Thank you.
Congratulations once again to our 2022 Teacher Hall of Fame inductees. Let's give them one more round of applause. Thank you for all you being out there. I know it means a whole lot to our inductees, and we're so very fortunate to live in a community that loves and supports public education. So thank you for being here. In addition to the plaque, each honoree received a keepsake program or corsage and special name badge, a gift bag with several small gifts, and our district coin. Their photograph will hang on our Hall of Fame wall here in the lobby of our board office. A brick engraved with their name has also been added to the walkway that surrounds our flagpole outside just left of the front door. On the back of your program, you'll see a list of sponsors. There and we couldn't hold our special events here if it were not for those sponsors. And we want to say thank you to Flint Energies, HEA Federal Credit Union, Houston Healthcare, Paris Construction Group, the Roderick Group, Totem Benefit Solutions, and Yancey Bus and Sales and Service. They provide thousands of dollars to fund our system events, and we're forever grateful for their support. In addition, several sponsors provided in-kind support. Cherokee Brick provided the bricks for our Teacher Hall of Fame walkway. Our Classic Award and Trophy provided the Hall of Fame name badges, and Recollections by Lynn donated the corsages. So we were thankful to Houston County High School Ag Program, who provided the wonderful ferns. We were saying we've never seen ferns that big. And just, if you have an opportunity and you see these sponsors, just say thank you for their support. This concludes our program tonight, and if our honorees, if you would just remain on stage, so we'll take a few photographs, and then everyone else could join us in the lobby for a reception. So thank you again, and congratulations.